Hey, all you cool cats and kittens, it's math time, and I hope you're as ready as I am. So let's get going. All right, hey, we're talking about linear forms today. Just some basics of mathematics. This should be really, really easy. There's actually a lot of linear forms. There is standard form, point slope form, double intercept form, general form, double point form, and slope intercept form. And we're going to look at three of them. We are not going to do double intercept form, double point form, and general form, but we are going to do the other three. So be prepared. All right, parts of point slope form. Let's go through this. That's just some y coordinate of any point. Y coordinate, any point, simple. And then this is the x coordinate of the same point. Okay, that's key. You can't have the y coordinate of one point and the x coordinate of some other point. They have to be the same point. And then that's m is the slope. You should know that, m, slope. All right, parts of slope-intercept form. You know, you should kind of know a lot of this stuff. That's the slope, m, and then that's the y-intercept, b. That's where it hits the y-axis. Fantastic. You already know that. All right, and then standard form, a is just some positive integer, okay? Positive integer. If you don't know what an integer is, then you need to pause the video, go walk around the block, and then come back when you remember. All right, and then b and c are just some integers that could be positive or negative. Note that this b is not the same b in y equal mx plus b. These b's are not the same b's. It's just one of those things. All right, relatively prime. Two or more integers are relatively prime if the largest integer that divides into them is 1. Kind of like the greatest common factors. This is a true false. This is number 1. So if I refer to number 1 at Socrative, that's what I mean. Is it true or false? And this is true because the biggest number that divides into 8, 9, and 12 is 1. Now, none of those three numbers themselves are prime numbers, but they are relatively prime. All right, and then number 2 is false. These coefficients are not relatively prime because 3 divides into all the coefficients. Pretty simple. All right, which leads us to something like this. Let's read this. The following linear equations in standard form, but the coefficients are not relatively prime. Write the equation. Okay, so we want to write this in with relatively prime coefficients. So we want to multiply both sides by 1/2. You know, that would give us 3x minus 4y equals 5. All right, so at Socrative, number 3, I want you to type that in. 3x, don't hit the space bar, okay? No spaces, no spaces. Can't account for that. Number 4, all right, write the equation in standard form. It's not in standard form because the coefficients aren't relatively prime, and that's negative. So what we would need to do in this one is multiply both sides by -1/4 because 4 is the biggest number. It's negative. All right, so that would be, let's see, x minus 2y equals -5. All right, hopefully that's right. Let's move on. Write the equation in number 5. Write the equation in standard form. All right, it's not in standard form because 1/2 and 5/4 are not integers. So let's multiply both sides by, we might say, okay, let's do 2. But that's not going to work because you would still have a denominator here. So we want it to be the common denominator, which would be 4. So let's change that to a 4 real quick. Let's distribute. So it'd be 2x plus 4y equals 5. All right, I dig that. Some simple equations here are questions, multiple choice questions. This is linear and in slope-intercept form. You should recognize that. That's y equal mx plus b. Number 7, if you want to pause the video, I'll give you a moment, but that's nonlinear because this is a degree 2 polynomial. Degree 1 is linear. Number 8, this is linear, but it's not just in any general or specific form. It's just not special. So let's move on. Okay, so what we're going to do is write equations of line given some information, and this is the path that we want to take. We're going to go from information to point slope, slope intercept, standard. There are other paths, but you know that's kind of like Steve going to the grocery store. He likes to go on what is that, Coulter Road, and then 12th Street, and then to the grocery store. He doesn't like 7th Street. So, keep Steve off 7th Street. Let's take the path that's before us. All right, I think let's go through 2 of these, and then I think we'll be done. Let's see. We want to write this in point slope first. So we would go y minus -3 equals 1/4 times x minus 6. Now, this is a little middle schoolish. So let's write this as y plus 3 equals 1/4 x minus 6. And then that would be the answer to part 1. Now, at Socrative, I'm just going to say what's the answer to part 3. But at some written assignment, we would come up with all 3 of those. So what's special about this path is that one leads right into the other. So if we were to take this answer that we have for part 1 and distribute, we'd have y plus 3 equals 1/4 x minus, let's see, 1/4 times -6 is -3/2. And then combine like terms or solve it for y. So we want to subtract 3 on both sides. And that'd be y equals 1/4 x. Let's see, that would be 6/2, and 3/2 is 9/2. And then that would be the answer to part 2. All right, and then we do that part of the path, and we take this. I'm just going to move that 1/4 over and write it as -1/4 x plus y equals -9/2. Well, that's not in standard form because this is not positive and it's not an integer. So we're going to multiply both sides by -4. Which we can all do. And let's see, that would be positive x minus 4y equals positive 18. And I will ask for that. That's what I want right there at Socrative. I'm going to say the answer to part 3. Okay, let's see if that's kind of the same stuff. That's just, I did it a while ago. I was bored. All right, I think this is the last problem. Now, we actually have to do the slope first because of the information. We were given 2 points, so let's do the slope. M equals y2, so that would be like -3 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is -4 over 3. And so that means that this is -4/3, and then we'd go x. Now, again, it doesn't matter which points you pick here for point slope form, but you've got to pick the coordinates have to be consistent. So I'm going to use this one. And so it'd be x minus -8, and then y minus 1. And again, this is a little middle schoolish, so let's clean it up. Y minus 1 equals -4/3 x plus 8. And that is the answer to part 1. And then to get part 2, we just distribute. So let's take that answer. Y minus 1 equals -4/3 x minus 32/3. And then add 1 to both sides. And so y equals -4/3 x. Let's see, that's 3/3, so that's minus 29/3. Feel good about that. That is the answer to part 2. And then to get part 3, follow the path. Don't want to go 7th Street. And then we move the 4/3 over here, so that'd be 4/3 x plus y equals -29/3. And then we want to multiply both sides by, that's positive. Yeah, that's right. Okay. By 3. And so that looks like 4x plus 3y equals -29. All right. Let's check that. All right, that looks good. I think we are done. We have a cameo appearance. I wonder who it is. Oh my God, it's Toots, it's the driving cat. Crap. A little scared. Okay, guys, that was fun. I'll see you next time.